Last time on New Hope. Before the series took a long break, we witnessed the Z-Fighters fall to the perfect android during the Cell games. Due to his own hubris, however, Cell left Krillin alive to pick up the pieces of what was left of his life in the world he knew. Unbeknownst to the villain, not only would the Earth's strongest human train to become even stronger than ever imaginable, even recently be converted into an android himself with the help of Bulma, but Goku also left behind a son, with Cell returning to rid the universe of every planet possessing the Dragon Balls, and a much more angsty Goten training in the Room of Spirit and Time. Krillin knows it's time to face this threat here and now.
This is part 3 of Dragon Ball New Hope Full Color Edition. Support the author and catch up fully using the links below.
Facing off with Krillin after receiving a surprise kick from the Earthling, Cell urges them to rejoice today, for the time has come for him to finally join his friends in the afterlife. He better be sure not to forget to give them his best. You know, in memory of the good old days. It feels like forever since he himself got to see the old, dead gang. It must feel even longer for him. Surprising the villain yet again, Krillin actually agrees. Cell can't imagine how impatient he is to be with him again. When he is, they can all reminisce of the time Gohan pounded Cell's face into a bleeding, contorted mess of what it once was. A face that was so full of fear, as a mere child beat him senseless. Which is clearly not the passive response the android was expecting, silently staring forward in frustration. He makes his way to the ground so they can continue this little chat face to face. Letting his emotions emerge, Cell hisses for this insignificant pest to mind his words. Has he already forgotten how pathetic he looked the last time they met? He was crawling at his feet, crying over the loss of that useless Android 18. He remembers, right? Though this is enough to anger Krillin too. He tells himself to calm down. He can't take Cell on by himself yet, so he has to buy some more time for Goten. Given his present demeanor, Cell figures that's all it took for him to return to his cowering self. Just a little refresher. The Earthling tells Cell he's curious about something. Cell has been terrorizing the entire universe for 13 years. Surely he's been to many places and fought many warriors. In all that time, has he met even a single one who was strong enough to face him? Who admits the universe is vast and full of civilizations. However, they are only as formidable as their greatest weakness. He devastated many galaxies, eradicated thousands of solar systems, killed billions of people. And among them, only a handful of warriors were able to entertain him. To be honest, he could only count them on one hand, and none of them are alive today to testify otherwise. Alas, it was only here where he was ever able to find a true challenge. But look where they are now. And Krillin thinks that's bad too. Things would have been a lot easier if he had never faced a challenge at all, even small ones. Likely fearing anything above a massacre would only make him stronger. It is, however, worth noting, it's unlikely Cell has done much genuine training or received any significant Zenkai boost during his time off-world. Of course, if his statements are to be believed. Have a lookout. Already aware of his arrival, Dende and Popo tremble with fear as they listen in on the conversation. This monster brags about the billions of lives he's ended. Dende can't even imagine the atrocities that he's committed throughout the entirety of the universe. Bulma can't believe they managed to find someone even worse than that cretin Frieza. And technically, this one's actually an Earthling. At least more or less. Chi-Chi screeches out wondering why Krillin is just chatting up that cockroach instead of crushing him. But every passing minute matters. For every 10 minutes that passes out here, it's equal to more than 2 days for Goten in the hyperbolic time chamber. As we ourselves take a glimpse in. Goten narrates to himself that he's been in here for almost a year already. Time really flies when you're busy. 2 more weeks and he thinks it'll be about the right time to leave. But first, he definitely needs a haircut. Since entering this room, he's gone further than he ever expected with his training. He really thought he could never be this strong. He wants Krillin to trust that if Cell ever comes back, he'll make sure that it costs the monster his life. Mind you, until this point in the story, Goten only really knows of Cell through the tellings of the remaining Z-Fighters. Krillin then offers another question. What was it that happened in space which made him wish to destroy every set of Dragon Balls? Was it merely a random thought? Or did something happen to inspire this new crusade? Happy to oblige. After he devastated their planet, some witchers tried to find them in order to eradicate him. When Cell heard of their intentions, he tortured them until they revealed all information possible about the power behind those orbs, and where to find them all. To our hero. This means Cell was clearly misinformed about the limitation of the balls. Unfortunately, even if they got the Dragon Balls, their plan wouldn't have worked. Their power is based on the power of who created them. Cell doesn't have to destroy the Earth. If the Dragon Balls could harm him, he would have been sent to hell a long time ago. The protectors of the Earth have heard the song and dance several times before. The dragon won't directly rid them of a villain. While the monster finds this interesting, he doesn't believe that's enough information to dissuade his decision. He thinks he'll do away with this world as planned. And given that hostile welcome Krillin delivered to him, it seems pretty obvious that this time, the Earthling is prepared to face his destiny and disappear along with his dear Earth. Is he right? Going to remove his cloak, Krillin grunts that he's more right than he could ever know. Assuming he was just going to go without resistance, it seems to Cell that the human would like an honorable death. He forgot that here, as laughable as it may be, he's considered to be a great warrior. Either way, he will give Krillin the fight to the death he seeks, the one he refused him many years ago. To make this fun, he will attempt to lower his power to match his opponents. It would be a shame to break his neck with only one punch again. He better not disappoint. With a smirk, Cell has no idea what he's in for. Powering up, the villain can't help but notice that Krillin's hiding his key, even despite powering up. Though he shrugs this off as no matter at the end of the day, unaware Krillin is an android and his key is not able to be sensed at all. He scoffs that at least one of them is taking this seriously. But Krillin thinks the Cell's lowered his strength so much, it'll take him some time to get back to his full power. He couldn't have asked for this much.
The after image technique. How ridiculous. Yeah!
Although he's able to catch the invader off guard, Cell's able to use an ability most recognizable as 17's Ki Barrier to shield him from the blast. Krillin curses that after all of that, he's already back on his feet. His regeneration ability seems to be even more efficient than before. It's like he never attacked him at all. From what he's saying, it seems like the ability Cell uses to restore his body might now be able to work as an all-around healing factor, healing each individual damaged cell. Though his pride appears as wounded as ever, he snarls at our hero to touch down on the ground this instant. He utters that besides that little brat Gohan, nobody has ever punched him with so much strength. In all of Jiro's research bestowed upon him, Earthlings are completely incapable of such power. He demands Krillin explain what happened to him. Who lets out a bit of a scoff at this. He thought Cell was the perfect being. He's supposed to be more perceptive than this. From where he's standing, it seems like it should be pretty obvious. The villain shouts for his useless human prey to stop acting so bold and answer him, or he will kill him right now. But human, Cell is mistaken. The two of them are actually brothers now. They belong to the same family. After a short moment of shocked silence, Cell bellows out with laughter at such a claim. However, it's not that he's in denial of what he's saying could be true, but the irony. Krillin has become what he despises most in the world, an android. How pathetic! The worst part of all of this is that he ludicrously did this with the hopes of defeating him, right? He must know that even as an android, he is nothing more than a miserable insect when compared to his own perfection. However, He does have the feeling that he will be able to entertain him more than expected now. At least enough to not accidentally kill him too soon. Foolishly letting the demon power back up. Everyone above also notices his ki skyrocketing. Bulma can tell with her equipment that his previous power level was nothing compared to what it's reading now. Actually, according to her data, this is close to his full power from 13 years ago, just before he left the Earth. Chi-Chi asks, "This is bad news, isn't it?" before she inquires about Krillin's strength. But that's something she doesn't have the answer to. His energy has been undetectable ever since he became an android. Facing off again, Cell chortles that he's impressed his foe hasn't already run away. Who tells him that he's too confident, and that'll be his undoing. Instant transmission is really a fantastic technique. Don't you agree? Make sure to thank Son Goku for this marvelous gift! Ha ha ha! You missed. As Krillin hits the dirt, Cell can see that he's grown much more resilient over the last dozen years or so. The old Krillin would have been long dead by now. He must have been dedicating every minute of his life just for this inevitably futile moment. But they're just warming up, and he only hopes he hasn't reached his limit yet. Cell still has to pay him back for that little sneak attack from before. Today, Krillin will face a slow and painful death. Getting up, despite his level of new strength, Cell's raw power is still indeed largely superior to his own. Close combat is too dangerous, and it's not smart to try matching him blow for blow like this. Actually, it would be best to borrow one of Goten's tactics. But what could he mean? Krillin gasps that Cell does pack quite a punch. But you know what surprises him more? His lack of speed. He's so slow! While he was able to make Cell take a dip, the biodroid calmly details how Krillin must have regrets that he didn't have this idea before the Cell games. If he were an android prior, he could have easily defeated him. But does he mean the Cell games itself, or simply before he reached his perfect form? He ushers them to get back to land once more. The monster states that his foe was kicking harder earlier. He increased his speed, but it decreased his strength. What an amateur tactic! Is that all he could think of to compete with the instant transmission? But this sort of confuses Krillin. His own tactic doesn't compete with Cell, it surpasses him. Hasn't he realized how abnormally slow his version of the instant transmission is? It's a ki sensing skill. Using it against an opponent like himself, whose ki can't be sensed, is useless. Ironically, this is the opposite tactic Trunks used where he increased his strength but sacrificed his speed. It resulted in complete failure, something Krillin was there to witness. But at any rate, Cell growls that he not lecture him. Vermin needs to know its place. Using his telekinesis, the fiend smiles that his foe is abruptly way less talkative. Did he forget he could do this? Gets over here.
trapped, Krillin. I'm going to break your neck. Slowly.
As Cell cackles for Krillin not to even bother trying to escape. Our hero smiles that he still has his hands free. Using what he calls a solar flare times 100, blood pours from the villain's face. He screams out in pain from the damage caused to his eyes. That was no ordinary solar flare. His eyes are completely calcinated. That's going to cost Krillin so much more. Blasting him away. Cell's ki is completely gone. The others cheer out in excitement and relief. None of them are getting readings of any kind of Cell's energy. Krillin did it! While in South City, the people there feel a terrible rumbling coming from the ground. Is it an earthquake? And what's that explosion off that nearby island? A couple of these people we recognize, though never had much of a chance to make an impact in the story. When a devastated Cell appears before Mr. Satan. Stammering, he too recognizes this beast all too well. After regenerating, Cell thinks to himself that if he hadn't teleported here in time, that loser would have killed him. That's the second time that worm has forced him to regenerate, which at least mostly debunks the healing factor theory from before. It means Krillin obliterated him early in the fight as well. But now back in full force, Hercule tries to guard his daughter and tells her to get away. The android scoffs that he remembers this Earthling. He was the buffoon who clowned around at the opening of the Cell games. Thanks to his familiar ki, he was able to teleport himself over here just in time. He is truly grateful. As an expression of his gratitude, he's going to offer everyone here a quick and painless death. Energy from Cell's attack making its way back to Krillin. He can't believe he found a way to survive. His energy and vitality seem to be the same as earlier too. Reducing Cell City to rubble, and logically Videl and Mr. Satan too. Cell has had enough of this little game. He is now going to crush Krillin. The others. Dende announces to everyone that the fight has resumed. Though already aware the beast survived, they can't believe how fast he was able to recover. Unfortunately, we can see on a drone monitor that Cell kept true to his word and is quickly beating Krillin down. Roshi can only plead that he hangs on. He's now taking Krillin seriously and not giving him any room to breathe. Dende wonders if he himself should get out there and try to heal him, though Bulma argues that would be a bad idea. There's no way Cell's attention could be diverted long enough to get Krillin back to full health. He would likely be quickly killed as to get rid of the Dragon Balls. Chi-Chi bellows that they need to make their wish and force Goku and Gohan to come back to kill Cell. As they've been saying, this is too dangerous. Cell has been clear about destroying the planet this time. It's all or nothing and they need to. Roshi shouts to her that's enough. They've been relying on the Dragon Balls every time there's a problem. It is now time for Krillin and Goten to be the ones to protect the Earth, not their dead friends. If they all don't learn how to take care of themselves, it takes all the purpose out of what it means to be alive. As a voice calls out, Grandpa Roshi's right. They won't need the Dragon Balls. He's here now. With Goten finally emerging from the Room of Spirit and Time, how much stronger has he gotten while within its walls? Will he be able to save Krillin from certain doom? If so, will they together save the Earth? Far above the chaos occurring down on Earth, Goten, sporting what looks like Bardock's prototype haircut, and more confidence than he ever had in the original series. Cool-headedly remarks to the gang at Kami's lookout that they don't have to worry anymore. He's going to take care of Cell for good. And given the recent events in Krillin's fight where the tides are turning against our heroes, he couldn't have picked a better time. Though, Mama Hawk does what she does and brashly scurries over to her son, shouting he's here! He's finally here! She's missed him so much, and allowing himself to be human for a change. He assures that he missed her too. But she wants to know what's up with this new haircut. She didn't approve of that. A bit taken aback. He just wanted to change it is all. Likely sick of them reminding him that it resembles his father perfectly. His father who he's yet to find respect for. But he only brings up that Grandpa Roshi kept confusing him with Goku, and it was getting old. Ruffling his new do, Chi-Chi huffs that he keeps calling him Goku instead of Dad. He's doing this to express his resentment towards him. She informs him that he may have inherited her own bad attitude, but he should know that whether he likes it or not, and just like his father was able to do, Goten's own presence is enough to fill everyone's hearts with hope. That's what he did best. The boy doesn't know how to respond to a comment like this. Alas, he resolves to get down to business as time is of the essence. He questions what's been going on since he was in the room. While it's only been a couple days for them, a couple years have passed for himself. He finds it weird he can sense Cell's energy, but not Krillin's. An inquiry that Bulma offers to fill him in on. More or less. She explains to him that a lot has happened since the last time he saw Krillin. In short, she was able to use Dr. Gero's research to convert Krillin into an android himself. This has made him more powerful than he ever dreamed possible. But it comes with a strange side effect. Given the artificial nature of his new anatomy, they can no longer sense his ki. This helps him understand how Krillin has gotten so strong, and how he's able to even hold a candle against the fabled Titan he's currently up against. Bulma is really incredible. There isn't any technology she can't master. Peering into the aforementioned battle, Dende stutters to the Saiyan that their hero on the ground needs his help right now. He's in big trouble and doesn't know how much longer he can hold out. Snapping the warrior out of his inquisitive focus, he tells everyone to stay here and promises to see him all later. His mother pleads with him to come back safe and sound. After all, he's all she has left. He assures he will. This ends today. Because of this monster, he was born into a planet that has lived in fear his entire life. He will bring peace back to the Earth. As they watch him courageously blast off into the distance, Bulma has to compliment Chi-Chi that her son has really grown up quite well. And all things considered, this is probably the best they could have hoped for. But all his mother can think about is how this darn hyperbolic time chamber just took 2 years of her child's life away from her. Then again, if he's able to stop Cell, 2 years is better than all the years. Making his way down from the clouds, Korin bellows for him to wait up as he's passing by. Though trying to remain as polite as possible, he apologizes that he can. He's in kind of a rush. But knowing how important this is, he quickly tosses him something, telling him to catch. It's the last Senzu, the one that Yajirobe selfishly hides in case of emergency. But he's sure Goten will be able to make much more use out of it than him. Thanking him, he carefully grasps it in his left hand without any issue. Before gunning it to Cell's ki, he promises Master Korin he will rid the world from this monster for good. Growing serious at the tone of the harsh reality he's now faced with, everything he's worked for has culminated in this moment. He only hopes that Krillin can hold out a little bit longer.
We're only just getting started, Krillin. Now do you understand the gap between a vulgar android and perfection?
Sinisterly holding his human prey by the shirt, and after quite a bit of manhandling, Cell chortles that Krillin's pathetic plan has failed, and miserably at that. But our hero begs to differ, spatting that his adversary is an oblivious idiot. It actually worked perfectly. He then takes a hold of one of Cell's arms with all of his strength, making sure he can't run off or move more than an inch.
What's
Zap! Having Cell take a seat, Goten arrives just in time to give Krillin a well-needed breather. As the pair happily greet each other, the latter smiles that he's really glad to see him. That was quite the entrance he mocked up there. He didn't even feel his ki until the very last moment. A second longer and he might have been a complete surprise. However, a question must be raised about the android's fight with Cell. Was Bulma truly able to emulate the essentially infinite energy factor that existed within 17 and 18? Or did she? And it still wasn't enough to hold off the Fiend. But showing rare shades of the Goten we know from the original story, or maybe a piece of Gotenks even, he chuckles that of course, the great hero always has to stick the landing. And judging by the state he's in, he thinks he arrived in the nick of time. If he had decided to drag his feet in getting out of the time chamber for another minute, he might have been in trouble. Krillin admits that he indeed has a few broken bones, but it's nothing to worry about. He still has a lot of fight left within himself. That reminds him. He actually almost forgot about something. Reaching into his armor, he grabs Korin's last Senzu Bean, but he's not super sure if it's going to work on his mentor. You know, now that he's a robot and all. Regardless, Cell picks himself up from the surprise attack to see what's going on. He was under the firm belief Krillin was the only fighter remaining to protect the Earth. That was the sick joke he had put in place after all. Though he lays eyes on a boy who looks like Goku, dresses like Vegeta. Krillin doesn't waste any time and mows down on the bean, bringing him back to full health. A little aghast, Goten figures it seems like it worked at least, as the turtle student smiles that he's not actually a robot, he just has an energy catalyst inside of him. It's not like they put his brain in a metal body. He's still as human as he's ever been on a technical level. With the villain beginning to move, Goten laments that even with his master's new strength, it looks like Cell still has the upper hand. And that is the unfortunate truth. As an android, there still isn't much he can do versus the last time this guy vowed to destroy the planet. He had him on the ropes at his current power level. He even thought he beat him for a second, but his ability to regenerate is much more effective than he remembers. It seems to do a lot more than just putting his body back together. We finally get an idea of what's going on in Cell's head. Wondering who this new mysterious child is, we can fairly judge that based on his sheer strength and speed of that cheap shot, he cannot be an ordinary human. And even with all of Dro's knowledge instilled within him, he doesn't have any data on him. Though his ki is strangely familiar. Krillin appears to know him well and he wears the same outfit as Vegeta and Trunks did. At a loss at who he could be, he figures it doesn't matter at the end of the day. He's simply another bug to squash, another toy for his amusement before he does away with the Earth and the Dragon Balls once and for all. The Fiend scoffs at the pair mockingly, begging the question, so this was Krillin's plan all along? To wait for his little friend to show up and face him? This is ridiculous. Then again, it wouldn't be the first time he foolishly put his life in the hands of a child. Nothing he does should surprise him anymore. However, he thought he might have learned after watching all of his friends die. Apparently, the death of his peers, no matter the age, means nothing to him. Of course, Krillin doesn't allow him to get in his head, knowing full well he's simply playing mind games at this point. He reaffirms in Goten not to listen to him, and together they can win. The biodroid continues his smug taunting to proclaim that if that were true, he wouldn't have merely stared on while he recovered himself with that Senzu Bean. Unlike them, he knows how to learn from his mistakes. When Goten makes a decision very indicative of his kinship with his father, even if absent, he wants to fight Cell alone. But frantic as he should be, Krillin demands to know what he's talking about. Does he really think this is the time to be arrogant? No matter how strong he's gotten, he has no idea what this monster's capable of. He needs to be rational and think about the endless number of people who are counting on the two of them. The kid knew he'd be against the idea, but he needs to believe him when he says it has nothing to do with arrogance. Although he doesn't know how to explain it. There's a driving force within himself that's pushing him to fight Cell alone. And while he definitely doesn't want to admit it, given how long he knew Gohan and Goku, he knows this attitude all too well. He sighs in frustration and resignation, but there's no point for him trying to argue against the child's wishes. That's simply his competitive Saiyan blood talking. It's the same kind of thing his dad would have said. He may have cut his hair while in the Room of Spirit and Time, but he's still acting exactly like him. This only causes Goten to scowl that he not give him that slew of nonsense. Not now. Still holding on to a lot of resentment for the family and friends, but he never got to know. As stated in a previous chapter, he feels like they're all revered as these great timeless heroes, but if they're so great, why couldn't they defeat Cell? Goten claims that if he were as stupid as his so-called father, he would have given that senzu to Cell instead of him. And even Krillin can't argue with that. Goku definitely made a few errors that put them at a disadvantage. But the Saiyan promises he will make this guy pay 100-fold for all the stagnant pain he's caused. He won't get away with what he's done, and by the end of this, he will feel several times over the same suffering he has inflicted. Krillin can't believe what he's hearing. While the kid still has a bit of the same attitude and arrogance he's always had, not to mention the disdain for his dad. But the thing that sticks out the most is that he's so calm and collected. It's like he's not even the same person since going into the Room of Spirit and Time. Although some of this can be chalked up to maturity with age, it seems like he was able to do some deep reflection during his solitude within that realm. But all of this could also be seen as a red flag. He's never been in a life or death battle before, and part of being human is feeling like the less we know, the more we're prepared. As he makes his approach to the challenge ahead, with as much conviction as anyone who came before him, Cell giggles aloud at how funny this is. So what is he? Krillin's student or something? His forgotten son? Judging by the hair, he must at least be adopted. Further stating that he can tell Krillin taught him personally based on his underhanded, sneaky attacks. Without those, what makes him think he can go up against the likes of himself? Did his loser master even inform him just who Cell is? Just who it is that he's defying? He is the perfect being, destroyer of galaxies. And who is this brat that stands before him? Just a punk kid. In a calm, ominous, almost gravelly I am the night voice, Goten sears that he is vengeance. And Cell made a grave mistake in coming back here. He could have just flown off and disappeared into the void of nothing that is space. But now, he won't let him get out of here alive. He's going to take care of him and put an end to his reign of terror. Annoyed by Goten's confident fortitude, Cell growls to know just who this boy thinks he is. He has it in good faith that he will probably start to offer real answers to his questions when he begins ripping off his limbs one by one. Retaining his composure, the child simply lets the villain rattle on while he listens in silence. Once he's sure he's done, and after peacocking his aura a bit in order to show off what his power beholds, Goten dismisses Cell's words and tells him not to worry. He will understand soon enough who he is, but he's only going to realize he is exactly who he told him he was. As the final showdown for Earth begins, will Goten's training be enough to overcome the force that Cell has become? Will his hubris, the same shown by his older brother, be the undoing of everyone he's come to care about? Or will Krillin put his foot down and do everything he can to win?